I'm here, I'm queer, and I definitely need another beer. Guys, we're back with Cringe with Leah. I can't believe we're having another episode. And this one's all by me, all by myself. So we'll see how this goes. But I want to talk about dating apps. You guys have all been asking me about this survival guide, about the tips of dating, and I'm going to give it to you. So in this episode, we're gonna review profiles, how to set them up, how to keep them flowing, how to keep them juicy. So that way, hopefully, in our next episode, we'll talk about engaging in those DMs you hopefully are now getting because you have a new profile set up. And then hopefully after that, we go about dates, like how to make a date happen, how to create the perfect date, how to find the perfect date, how to think about the perfect date. Like, I'm going to go in details on how I made my first date with my current girlfriend because let me tell you what, I tested out my guide, my tips for myself in that very date, and it worked perfectly. I mean, look where I'm at now. In love. I love this bitch. I love her so much. She's my baby. But you guys, I'm so excited. And so I guess we'll get started with our first mini episode on Unhinged Leah. And it's time to cringe with Leah. Getting a job is hard. Getting in a relationship is hard. Getting into a situationship can be difficult. Or just honestly finding the right fuck for the night, it's not easy. And if you don't present yourself a right way, if you don't think about the extra details like you are for your like networking in your grid, you got to think about it hardcore. So I sat with myself, I kind of wrote some notes, and I think right today for this little mini episode, I'm going to give you guys just my tips and tricks, right? Like definitely intermingle them into how you want to do it. Maybe take your idea and run with it. The first little bit I'm going to talk about is just Hinge and Tinder. I wasn't really on Bumble. I was on her a little bit. To be successful in this dating world, it's really hard to walk into a bar and say hello. So I think getting on a less crowded app or the backup apps is what I call them. It's like walking into an empty bar or like a bar of people you already know. Like if you're going to be on one app, you're going to be on the other. So I really think just focusing on two apps is really going to help you be successful. If you're more of a hookup person, I definitely say you should download Tinder. Obviously, it's going to be the biggest, pond, if you will. Hinge, second best in my opinion. I found more educated, rich daddies kind of vibes out there. I mean, let's be real. There's still the fuck boys out there. Take it as you will with that. And I don't know, like Bumble, like I either saw people like I didn't want to see and didn't want to talk to, or like extras from the other app, right? Like the other places, the two main squeezes. And then like again with her, like I was just matching with the same people on the same apps. And like, I don't know, to meet a gay online is so hard. I feel like because there's just like that, I don't know, there's always like a slight wall. You're either like super, super confident and it like kind of scares you, or like you both are just like, oh, hi, hello, yeah, I'm a bisexual, I swear. So I always found like meeting the gays, meeting non binary, trans, just, us beautiful people in the streets, truly. I found a couple of lesbians I wanted to date here and there on the social apps, I can say, but I mean, honestly, we are just a very tight-knit group in my opinion, and social media is just, it's a hit or miss, I think. So the men are definitely out there. If you're trying to find men, definitely hop on these two apps, because if you want to, you'll find them. But will you find the right one? So no matter how you're setting it up, who you're setting it up for, what you're trying to find, I think I've got some honestly general good things to say on how to set it up, but also just some tips and tidbits and things as personal opinions. Personal opinions. You guys are here for my crazy personal opinions, I guess. My survival guide, if you will. So let's just start. Like, first off, like I said, I found that Hinge, you come across with the more educated people, but like, don't get it twisted. Like, still carrying that fuck boy energy, just with a little bit more class, if that makes sense. Like, just take that as you will. So some golden rules I think we should talk about first is your first photo. Just like your LinkedIn, boom, it's the first thing you see. Like cover cover page, photo, whatever. It's your first impression, right? So you really want to make it count. You want like a solid selfie representing like your actual vibes. So like take my first photo, like I really liked hooped earrings. I just think that's like so my aesthetic is having like a funky hoop earring in my gauges. So just like my like bold behavior like aesthetic coming out with like crazy eyeshadow. I've been wearing crazy eyeshadow. It's just my thing. I just really want you to be okay with that, because if you can't be okay with it, you need to swipe away, right? And then but also like minimum overall makeup in general. So like my aesthetic was weird. Just take that as you will. I just wanted like my vibes to be out there, because you know how you meet people and they like their aesthetic just isn't matching what you thought they were giving. I think it's important. First selfie, give the vibes straight up. Make it simple though. No friends, no babies, no body. Unless it's your furry friend, like I'm okay with that. But like you don't want people to like guess who you are. And so like when you're swiping, think about it. People are swiping with attention span of like 3 to 5 seconds. If the first photo has like 4 people in it, especially if it's like all blonde girls, like I'm not guessing here, especially if they're like all different level of attractions and stuff like that. Like people are gonna be like, oh, who it is. And then if you keep swiping, because if you use a group photo as your first photo, you don't have any more photos. Does that make sense? Like that's my logic in my head. Like I'm not gonna waste time swiping through your photos to find you. Like I need to find you on the first one. So like represent you, who you are, nice quality first front photo. You need that. If you don't have that, go get that. Don't have anxiety about it. Just relax. Remember that like beauty is everything. Someone out there is going to find you beautiful, and it comes in all different ways. And I think that's the most important thing to do is like be confident in who you are, be confident in how you look, and that'll come through, because even if you're not good at photography, somebody will help you get that selfie, right? And if we need an episode on how I get my selfies, no problem. But just get a good quality photo, which leads me to like, you need 4 good quality photos of yourself. They can all be the same one. I highly recommend that they don't be in the same outfit. Honestly, you can give a couple of eras. I say not to go back more than 2 years in your photos if you can. Like you want relatively new photos of you, 4 of them. So if you're out in the world, you're hanging out with friends, ask them to snap a pic of you so that way you can start building your bank, right? But like 4 good photos are important. But that first photo, bring your vibes. Okay, number 2, purpose, intent of dating, right? I think this is maybe a rule I set for myself to hopefully lead by example when it comes to the dating world, because you know a lot of people just don't lead with intention right way. Like they tell you one thing and they lead into another thing, whether that be I want to be your boyfriend turn into a fuck boy, or whether it be a fuck boy wanting to turn into your man, right? Like, or you know, as I call the clingers, which we'll talk about the lesbian clingers later. Later on in life. But you know, like people need to know what their intentions are, and that's the problem, is sometimes, and a lot of times, people don't know what their intentions are for themselves, let alone what they're going to tell you. So if you don't know how to answer this one yourself, I suggest writing it down, writing on paper, getting your goals out, and actually thinking about what you're looking for. Because if you don't have an idea, how are you going to build that idea with somebody else? Does that make sense? Like for me, like I had a purpose. Like I knew I was getting out of a long relationship. I knew that I would love to fall in love with somebody, and I know that I have those vibes to do so, but I needed to stand firm with myself that I'm open to short, considering long, but I'm not pushing it. Like even because we go on 5 dates, I don't want you to think that this is willing to get serious, right? So intent. What is your plan for you? What is your plan for them? How you're going to stick to it? Things like that. You need to practice that. And once you get that carried away, like figured out, that's where you do your first prompt, your first something that isn't a photo in your Hinge, Tinder, you know, profile, which we'll break it down. For Hinge, it's going to be like a voice memo or just like a text box, something. Your first prompt should be your intention of how you're going to date. And if you're confident, you like the sound of your voice, you know, practice your radio voice, give it a couple of different whirls. Like I definitely took an hour trying to get the perfect voice memo, but you know, I figured out my radio voice, and I was clear in what I stated, and I was quick about it, right? So I just, quick and easy, very simple expectations. I'm not looking for love, but I'm open to it. And I practiced that. I kept it short. I set my expectations in that voice memo. It comes off very clear, which is good, especially when a woman is setting their expectations. Honestly, when a man sets their expectation, anybody says, here is why I'm here and things like that, like that's going to help you. It's going to help you a lot. It's going to make you seem more confident. It's going to make you seem in control of your life. It's going to give that you thought about it. Like, it's just an overall healthy vibe. So if you can't answer that, you need to. And hopefully that makes sense. It's very important. Number 2 is very important. Like, your first impression photo is very important. It gives a very soft look at you, your vibes, and then your intentions. It's just a very healthy profile, in my opinion, truly. Which brings out, like, what do we do next, right? So say you're nervous, you're like, oh my God, Leah, I only have those 4 photos. What am I going to do? That's okay. 4 strong photos is very important. You can then kind of fill it with prompts. Hinge does a really good job of like mixing up those type of things. So pick what makes easy for you, but I highly recommend picking things that kind of lead into conversation, right? Because if you're trying to find someone that's worth investing into, whether it's having sex with, whether it's dating, whether it's getting married to in a month, like, you want someone that's willing to read about you, look at you, invest in you, and then question you at the same time. Like, who's that girl? Like, who is she? Like, who is he? Like, come on, like, guys, like, don't be that plain man. Like, I want to have fun. Like, I want to question like more about you. Like especially women, we love to be in our heads thinking about like what you could be, right? So give me something to play off of, and that's what your prompts should do. So like for me, I did 2 truths and a lies, and they were kind of crazy. Like, I think one of them was like, the lie was like, I met Tina Turner, but the other 2 were so crazy that everyone thought Tina Turner was real, like me meeting her. So, like, make it hilarious, because that gives someone a good step to get in your inbox and be like, so did you meet Tina Turner? No? Okay, cool. Versus getting that, sup, hey, how you doing? Like, ugh, which we'll talk about in another mini episode, is engagement. We will do that next episode, how to engage once the DMs start flowing. And then maybe another mini episode about like body language throughout the date, signals, flags, things like that. So more is to come with this series, with just me sitting here to chat myself up. But anyway, again, spread out the photos, spread out the prompts, give a little insight to you, but make sure like you're shedding light on who you are, right? So if you only have 4 photos, definitely do a little bit more than just 1 or 2 prompts. Maybe get 3 or 4 in there, whatever Hinge is allowing at the time. Like, get in there with those prompts, because that gives a little bit of reading for people too. Like, ooh, 4 cute photos. Ooh, they're interesting. Gets that DM, right? You can keep going, but also keep in mind that you don't want your profile to be too long scrolling, right? Like, if I'm getting too much information, like, you still want to leave a little like, who's that girl? Ooh, like, like, she didn't give me enough information. Like, what kind of hobbies is she into? Leave the bite. Leave a bite. Which then brings me to our general photo rules, right? And this goes for all across the board with any of your social media when it comes to dating. You need at least 4 good photos of yourself, right? We've talked about that. You can add more in there as support photos, as I call them, where you have friends, you have hobbies, you're in a group photo, like less quality, but more fun, more vibes. Like, those are fine, but those should just be the supporting character. Like, they shouldn't be in your main, like, who I am, right? 4 good photos, a few supportive photos, but last photo is the most important photo, not necessarily last in the lineup, but the last of the requirement photos is your risque, your trap photo. And I'll explain that a little bit later. It's very important that you understand that you definitely need a trap risque photo in this day and age, in this dating world. Even if you're a pure soul, you need to find something that's the more risky side of yourself, whether it's a lie or not. It's going to help you weed out the bullshit of this dating world. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Like I said, sport photos, show your hobbies, sports, activities. It may not be the best photo of you, but these are like not your main shots. You can include your friends, that's fine. Make sure it's easy to spot you still though. Like, don't have confusing far off photos. Like, if it's like 4 of you skiing in the distance, like, what am I looking at? So like, again, with intent, if your friend can't pick you out of a lineup, if a person at a bar can't look at that photo and go, oh my God, this cute photo of you and your 6 friends skiing, get it out of here. It's not worth it. Just leave it. I mean, you could put like a meme that you really like more so than a blurry ass photo of yourself. Does that make sense? Like, memes are fine, especially if you're a comical person, you want to have a little laugh in your, your profile, like that's fine, but just think about it, like, with intent. So let's get back to the trap photo. The trap photo is very, very important. This is a photo meant to attract attention, and I know you're like, ew, Leah, like, I don't want to have that kind of attention on me. I get it, but you're doing this not necessarily for the right reasons. It's not one you want everyone to like. Maybe you do. Maybe you are a little risky and you do want to find some risky people every once in a while. But like, for the most part, you don't want to deal with fuck boys every day, right? I don't care if you are a fuck galley, a fuck boy, whatever. We don't want to deal with fuck people every day. Sometimes we need a little sanity, right? So, you post this risque photo of yourself. It's meant to test the waters by being a little bit out there. For example, like, on my Hinge, I didn't want to attract the wrong kind of people, so I used like a video of me like smoking, a little smoke in the air. I thought it was a little risky, especially for a woman. The men are like, oh my God, she smokes. It's really not that big of a deal, but like, once you get on the dating apps, you will understand that people have no game, and this is the way that people make game. Is like these small risks turn into like a whole conversation. It's silly, truly. But let me tell you, I got tons of comments on it, like, ooh, you smoke? Oh, was that a cigarette or was that the devil's lettuce, right? Like, people are asking questions, it gets them conversating with you, but it kind of brings those people that have looked at your entire photo, because you always want to put the trap photo at like the end, or like last fifth, sixth photo, like ending. You don't want your first 4 photos to be mixed in with this. Like, have your good quality, have your hobbies, and then throw in the trap, right? Because if they're like a good fuck boy and they're really digging in, like they really like all your photos, and they go to the end of your profile and see this risky photo of you, the first thing they're gonna say is like, ooh, damn girl, I like and that's it. And it's like, cool, you're confident, but like, also, like, I kind of see you for who you are. Like, the first thing you actually are interested in, like, I have all these prompts, I have all these photos, but you're sliding in with like, I like the way you like, whatever, cool for you. Again, maybe good for once in a while, night out, quick fucky dinner, whatever you want. You want to go with little fuckboy vibes, cool. Like, every once in a while you need to have a little boost in your confidence, I would say. But it weeds out the people that are like, ew. Got it. But for like my Tinder one, like, obviously that's our hookup app. That's like the little bit more like riskier. Like, most people are smoking on this one, so like, smoking is not going to come off crazy. So that's where I did like a full leg spread dance practice, but it was like very hot. It was like purpley blues. I'm like over here like, leg spread, and immediately it was weeding out the people I just did not want to fuck with, right? Like, either for that day or forever. And it works every time. It works every time, because even if you're chatting with people, like, they start off great and they're like, oh, I really like your photos 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they're like, oh my God, thank you. I like your photo, blah, blah, blah. And then they slide in there like, and I like the way your legs spread. Like, it works every time. It weeds those people out before you get in person with them. They will comment on it at some point, because it's such a risky photo that they think you're okay with chatting about something like that, which, again, it's a trap photo. So yes, I am setting a trap. Yes, you can be angry about it. I don't care. But like, I'm protecting myself and who I am and just what I want to deal with. Because people, again, don't lead with intention most of the time nowadays. So you have to lead for yourself. So again, it works every time. Always place it after like my first good 4 photos. Like, I want you to know me first. And this just reserves the right for you to like dig a little bit deeper on the people, and it just shows that they dug a little deep on you as well in their profile. So again, it gives a good intent and a bad intent. Like, that they flipped through everything to get there, but at the same time, they're coming in hot and swinging. So, but overall, like, general photo rules. Guys, you have got to stop scribbling the women out. And women, you've got to stop liking profiles that have scribbled women out of it. That could be you. And people do this left and right. Both genders do. I see it on both sides. Like, stop scribbling people out. Women, stop cropping your man out. Just because your arm has disappeared doesn't mean we don't know that there's someone standing next to you at some point. Like, just don't use these couple photos. And even if they're your friends, if it makes it questionable, just don't use it. stop, please, for the love of God. Get into Photoshop before you start using a scribbled out, cropped out photo. If there's children in the photo and they're definitely not yours, and you really for some reason want to post that because you're like a child person, whatever. I don't know. Like, I personally, let's not post the children on social media dating apps. There's a lot of weirdos out there, so like, keep them off your profile. Personally, that's just me. But if you really want them in there, they're definitely not yours. Like, you need to clarify that in the description. Very cute, very subtle, like, that's my niece in the third photo, whatever. Because if people see children, they don't want children, or they think you already have a child, it's not to be judgmental, but that's really going to help the swipes just like happen much quicker. And again, they don't know you, they don't know how awesome you are, and you want to let them know, like, I am the most amazing aunt ever, but you won't get there if you set it up wrong. So just, I prefer no children in a photo, but again, if you want them in there, that's up to you. Just make sure you're very clarifying with that. And again, avoid couple looking photos. Like, say you keep the people in there and they're not scribbled out and it's just your brother, or it's just a friend, a guy friend or whatever. Like, if you look coupley, people are going to think you're coupley. So like, you either need to say that, like brother in the third photo, or you need to just honestly not have group photos, in my opinion, if you can. Again, if you have a group photo with like 8 or 9 people, like, that's different. But like, if the one or two of you are at a wedding in nice outfits, like, cute, you look good, but at the same time, you really should have gotten a single photo of you. Even and that should be another thing, guys. If you're dating, people are in dates, you're dating people, you're with relationships, whatever, you have people, get a couple photo always, but you should always getting selfies of yourself. You should always getting pictures of yourself as well, because one, you never know where life is going to take you, and all you're going to have are these photos of you and that other person. But two, like, it's just good, just have a good profile of you, make yourself feel good. You stand alone, be alone, this is you. Get pictures of yourself, especially on social media. Stop with just couple photos only. Even if they do a bad job, your partner taking a photo of you, like, just get something for yourself. It's always important just to remember the moment as you as well, not as somebody else with. Anyway, so back to it. Let's talk about the profile bars and how this starts to kind of differ between what we do on Tinder and what we do on Hinge. So like, Hinge has your informational bar, right? It's got a little slider on it. If you've not been on it yet, you'll find out. And there's just a few things I think are very important here, because as, again, an active user, a person that's using the app to figure you out, you want to make it user friendly. You don't want to make it too much, too bogging information. Again, you want to leave a little bit of mystery conversations, like something to lean into. So I feel like your must-haves for your informational bar on Hinge are essential is your age, sexuality, height, and location. People want to know, listen, we've all said it, age, sex, location. Age, sex, location. It's very important. We care about height. It's not even like a girly to guy thing. And women for women, like, I just want to be taller than my girlfriend, period. Like, it's just, height is important. Whether you want to believe it or not, that's fine. Just do it. And then you can also add like your pronouns, your gender, your ethnicity. That's fine. Like, anything that you think it's important to you, like that. And then you have your optional things like family planning, COVID status, and children. They can be included if it's relevant, right? Like, we don't want a long scrolling bar, because after a while you're like, cool, we know everything about you. So just make sure, like, if you're putting it on there, you stance it. Like, if it doesn't matter to you, you don't care. Like, you don't care if someone's drinking alcohol, you don't care if they know you drink alcohol. Like, if it's just not a big deal, don't put it on your profile. It gets too much. You just want to have what you need to know, things that can lead you in, right? So like your sexuality, your age, your location, like those are things that bring people in alone, because it gives you something to relate to with that person, what they're looking for, something. Pronouns, ethnicity, gender, again, very important. It just kind of shows who you are. But like family planning, like, do you want children or not? If it's really important to you, like hard stance, like I want to know that up front about you ASAP, cool. Put that on there. But again, you could like learn that about you. COVID status, it's up to you. I mean, it's 2024, almost 2025. So I'll just leave it at that. Again, like if it's important to you, absolutely. Children, like do you have any things like that? Again, if it's important for them to know immediately, absolutely. But if you want to breadcrumb that in your life, just take it off. Just leave it off. If it's not necessary, leave it out. But you can always have things that kind of like sprinkle in that fact, right? Like if you mention your sexuality, you maybe could skip that like interested in part, because if you're a woman and you're having these people are popping up on your profile, they're going to assume that you're interested in them, right? Because your settings are that way. So there's really no point of putting like what I'm interested in unless it's very important to you. Like if it's very important, you absolutely, but just leave a little mystery. Which leads me to going into Tinder now, right? So now we have our Hinge profile. We have an idea of it, right? 4 photos or more, supportive photos, have a voice prompt if you're feeling confident enough, practice it out. Understand the intent of your dating is very important, especially with Hinge. You need to know what your intent is, put it out there. People want to know. If they're on Hinge, they most likely want to know. And if they're on Hinge to fuck around, they probably have a Tinder anyway, so just don't worry about it. You'll see them again. So, which leads me into Tinder. You're going to follow the same rules, a lot of it that we talked about with Hinge. Tinder gets a little bit different because, like I said, if they have one dating app, they definitely have Tinder. Now, for me, I use Tinder in a lot of different ways. Tinder was my quick one because there's just tens and hundreds and thousands of people like on it, especially on the East Coast. Like if you wanted to date someone new every night, like you go on 3 dates a night and you would never see the same person. Like it's very big, especially being so close to like New York City or something. So it definitely is going to vibe a little bit different than Hinge. Same intents can be there, same roadmap of what you want to do can all happen through Tinder. You just have to be a certain way because you have to think that people are on this app and they're using it different. They're using it a different way than how they would with Hinge, because Hinge and Tinder are different, just like Bumble. But honestly, you can kind of take these tips and tricks to Bumble, to Her, to whatever app you're using. Plenty of Fish, I don't know, I have some 6-year-olds listening, guys, if you're on Plenty of Fish, cute, but like, I don't know, still get a Tinder. Because love is still out there, right? And everyone's always going to push you to get that one. It was like the first one, right? So same intent. Photo rules apply. 4 quality photos, can't have supporting photos. Make sure that they're good quality. Make sure they're not hard to understand. Which leads us then to your About Me section, your bio of your Tinder. For me, I like being funny. I don't know. I'm just a comedian. I like to josh around with strangers, whatever. I think I even had a meme in my Tinder photos just because, like, again, I use Tinder a little bit more loosely, more like fuckboy, I guess, for me. But you can be funny, but just like keep it quick in your bio, right? Some people like write a whole thing. This one guy had a thing about being like decomposing into being a worm and this and that, which led to I would like to take you out on a date if we were worms. Like it was cute, funny, like trying to be like with the girlies or whatever, but it was just too long. And I was honestly, by the time I was done reading it, I was like, I can't believe I read this entire thing for this guy to be that weird. So good weird, but sometimes weird if you're not hearing that person's voice, you're not hearing how it lands. Like, be quick with your funny and make sure that your funny is actually providing somebody something, right? Like if they're going to read this long thing, they need to learn a little bit about you, not that they wanted to be a worm and they wanted to take you out on a date. Cute, funny. Again, what did I learn from it? Fucking nothing. So avoid pranking everybody. You won't get the results you want, I promise. Even if you're trying to find more of a comical person, more of a laid back person, like don't be too loose, I guess is what I would say, with how you set your bio up. Make it juicy though, so people follow up with questions again, right? Like we want to make the DMs great. We don't want them to be, hey, what's up? Where you at? What you doing tonight? We want them to have some juice to sip on, to go, I would like some more, tell me more. Like me, I kind of joked about needing the TV on all the time and how I couldn't handle somebody who didn't understand that. 100% true. Like, listen, I went on a few little fuck dates. I went over to their place. They turned the TV off. Everything was pitch black. There was not even a fan on. They're like, good night. I can't do it. I'm not torturing myself like that. So, it's actually true. And it leads to great fun conversations. Like, I too, have to watch this TV show to go to bed for the last 12 years. Oh, well, I work night shift and I have to sleep with the fan on. Like, it leads people to relate to you. And that's what you want. You don't want someone to like just read some bulletin points about you and just go on about their life. Like, get some juice into how you're pulling people in with your bio. Just don't state who you are or make jokes. You can use bulletin points though to get the essentials out, like, I don't know, a cab or something, something that's very important to you. You can use bulletin points. Just remember, like, using emojis, be careful with that because it can kind of show your age. Even if you think you're being hip and wearing your ankle socks or whatever, like, the Gen Zs can smell you out based on hashtags. You don't know what's cool. You're not in high school anymore, so just be aware. And I mean, like, I'm not saying you're like trying to look more youthful, but like it does age you. You know, if you're trying to stay hip and in with the kids, just think about your emojis. People use hashtags on dating apps is hilarious to me. So if you want to do it, great. But like, just remember less is more. Like one or two. Don't. This isn't trending. Okay, so just remember that. Prompts are different on Tinder. It's not the same as Hinge. Like Hinge just organizes it better. Again, it's a little bit more professional. You find more of your like sugar mommies and daddies and more sophisticated people, I guess. At least for me on the East Coast, that's how it always was. Like it's just you get a better vibe on Hinge and they want to know more about you versus like majority of people on Tinder are like photos, funny bio, music. Like prompts get to be a little bit too much. So and again, I haven't been on it in like a year. I know they've reorganized it, but just still like Tinder, like the vibes are different. So, you know, even if you're wanting potentially more, keep it simple. Just keep it simple when it comes to prompts. Like if you have to do them, like do one or two, nothing crazy. If you're doing like the dating nights that they have on there and stuff like that, those are important. But again, like you just use them for the night and take them down. Like edit your profile as needed. Your Tinder informational bar. Again, optional additions, pronoun, heights, relationship status. It's more Hinge-like. It can be added if you want. Try to choose only like 2 to 3 key category things. You could do like zodiac, education, communication style, but like don't feel the need to answer everything. Seriously, like only what truly matters to you is important. Don't put everything. Again, leave people guessing because again, if they see these on other people's profiles and then they come to yours and they don't see it, they may even ask you about it. Just 1 or 2 though. Don't make your profile huge. Like no one's trying to read your LinkedIn account on Tinder, I promise. They will have a good conversation with you. So like that's what I'm saying. Like even if you want to bring different types of people in with Tinder, you will have those conversations different on that app. Like Hinge, it just everything is so different. So just take it as you will. You can add to your lifestyle choices what matters to you. Again, don't pick everything. You know, people get to know you in the conversation, so you need to leave space for that. And listen, if you're putting on your school, cool, I guess you can. Like, if you're a sorority person or a frat, whatever. But, like, that's for the youth. So, like, let them just have that. Like, if you're actively in college, like, that makes sense. But, like, I don't care where the fuck you went. And honestly, if it's, like, Yale or Brown or something, I'm probably just thinking that you're lying anyway. So, it's, like, I don't know. And like as for companies, like, oh cool, you work at a major firm. I don't know. Like you could put that on there, sure, but like your job, sure, but like job where you work, I don't know. Like again, leave space to talk. And then music on Tinder, fuck, I love it. I don't know maybe if I'm just a music junkie or not, but like it's so MySpace. I love it. Always keep that updated. That is your MySpace spot, people. Like put the music on the profile, keep it updated, have it fun, have it flirtatious, have it the vibes, you know? Like if you're trying to find like somebody to take you out on a date and be like trap as hell, like put your trap as hell on there. If you're trying to like have yourself a little, Swifty moment and have a little cute picnic date or whatever, like, show that you're a little girly, whatever. Like you need to have the vibes on there though. I think that's it. I think we did a not so mini episode and I just wanted to make sure you guys have like ideas of how to like set your apps up. If you guys have any more questions, comments, concerns, you want to add a tip or something very important to you, I totally will add it on to our next mini episode. But yeah, if this works for you, you want to know how to then engage in the DM, some tips and tricks there, how to be more maybe a confident woman, how to maybe read someone who's too confident, how to like bump up the conversation or boost the vibes, like we'll talk about that in the next episode. And then we'll go from there. Full speed ahead into the bullshit. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me in all of these episodes. It's only going to get better from here. And I think that's where I'll wrap it. Cringe with Leah.